Action. All right, dearly beloved, here we are, Mr. Tad Hargrave from Marketing for Hippies, me, Bradley Morris from Magic Media, and you just got through the holidays. You had a great time. You forgot about all your worries and all your cares. You may have spent a little bit too much money on extra gifts and adventures over the holidays, and now we're getting back to the swing of things, and you might be like, holy shit, we got to make some cash. Tad, you ever have one of those situations where you got to come up with some fast cash?
Oh yes. Yes.
Yes, many times have I had to pull miracles out of the metaphorical hat in order to make ends meet or pay payroll for my team or get the rent covered or bills covered or any number of things or to go on a big trip that I wanted to go on. So, today we're going to be talking about for all the people out there that might be feeling the crunch. I mean, the inflation monster is eating up all of our reserves of savings accounts because everything seems to be more expensive these days, and the need to make more faster seems to be one of the pars for the course right now. So, I just wanted to have this conversation with you so that people could kickstart the year knowing what's possible and what's available, because I know you have something coming up that we'll get into, but also giving them some things to think about and take action on now to begin making a positive difference with regards to making some fast cash for the end of the month or the next month. So let's get that conversation started.
Awesome.
So let's just pretend some of our listeners or watchers out there, people reading the transcript version of this, they might be in a cash crunch. What if somebody was coming to you for coaching, what would one of the first things be that you would get them to do?
Okay. So yeah, if you're in that place where you just need the money quick, let me start somewhere and then I'll end somewhere. I'm gonna do a little screen share. So s- can you let me screen share? If you've
Yes.
been
Thank you.
following my work for a while, then you'll know I've got something called the five fundamentals, and it's a pyramid where the bottom is ethics. This is the most critical thing, that we're coming from this orientation of we're going for the truth of is it a fit, not is it a sale, or how do we get the sale? Then there's niche, not trying to be everything to everybody. Then there's point of view, telling the truth about what you see, letting people know how you're approaching your work so they can discern if that's a fit for them. Then there's business model. It's all of your offers put together. And then there's hubs. And one thing I would say is number one, if you're in a cash flow crunch, it's worth really doing a reevaluation on these five things and where are you strong and where are you weak? Where is the malfunction? Is it that you've been behaving unethically and people are feeling uncomfortable with you and pulling back? If you're watching this video, that's probably not the one. Uh, but it could be that you're niche. You're just trying to be everything to everybody and you haven't really focused. You're being diffuse. You're trying to do too many things. You're trying to have your business please too many uh, different groups, and so you're never really known for anything in particular. Could be that your point of view isn't clear, that people know, okay, well, you help people like me, but they don't really understand how you approach it, what makes your work different, your aesthetic, your style, your cosmology, your philosophy. That's not clear, the process they would go through. So there's that. And then there's the business model. Maybe your offers aren't that good. Sometimes I've seen people with great ethics, the niche is good, point of view is good, but their offers are not well constructed, or they don't have any kind of free offers and no cheap offers and it goes right to an expensive one, or they have nothing but free and cheap offers. They don't have a high-end one, so it's not sustainable. So it could be that. And then it could be the hubs. It could be that you've got all of this, but you're trying to find people one by one, kind of a cold approach, and that's very hard. So that's
Sure.
the very first thing I'd be just thinking about is where is the malfunction? But I've had a couple of thoughts since designing this pyramid. There'll probably be a next iteration. I don't know what I'm going to call it, the seven stages instead of the five fundamentals. But this is what it looks like. And so this hasn't even really been released. So this is a privileged information. This is just behind the scenes. My team has been tinkering with this. But if we look at this, you see there's something more fundamental than ethics, and this hit me a while ago. Much more fundamental than ethics is space, just having space. So if you're in a cash flow crunch, you've got to get some room for yourself. You've got to get space so you can focus. And there's a couple of things that go with this. Number one, physically just ransack your place, declutter, Marie Kondo on steroids. You've got to get your physical space supporting you because it will win. A cluttered physical space will absolutely defeat you in the long run. So, whatever that means for you, it's worth taking a day or two where you turn everything off and we're just gonna get organized. We're gonna go through the closet, take clothes we're not wearing, take them to the consignment shop. We're gonna clean out the fridge. We're gonna tidy my desk, all these things. And number two, harder but more significant, is we've got to clean out our calendar. We got to clean out our life and create more space there. So, that this means going through the inbox, unsubscribing from just about everything except my and Bradley, our emails.
That's right.
It means going through your calendar, looking at events that you're kind of half-hearted about. What are some volunteer commitments maybe you're just not that into anymore? Are there projects taken that you've taken on that you have to, with integrity, back out of? You may be doing too many things. Let me restate that. You are doing too many things. If you're in a cash flow crunch, it's just a guarantee you are overextended. It's like if you have an elastic band, and I'm going to do an impression right now. Check it out. This is an impression.
Wait, stop the screen share so we can see you.
Oh, yeah, yeah, right. Thanks. Yeah, you don't want to miss this impression. Here's the impression. It's going to snap. Okay, if I pull it much further, I think it's going to snap.
Can't watch.
Bradley, you know what this is an impression of?
We're not insured for injuries on this show, Tad.
Any guesses what this is an impression of?
This is an impression of anybody who is overstretched in their life.
That's right. This is you. If you're watching, this is you. So if you're thinking, okay, I'm in a cash flow crunch and I'm in this state, so now I'm going to add some hustle for cash flow, you're going to snap. You're really at the risk of snapping. So you don't want to do that. First thing you got to do is you've got to go to the bottom here and you've got to create more space. I mean, properly, actually, I think the space thing should just be like half of it. We've got to have enough room because it's easy to talk about ethics, but if you're too busy and you don't even have time to check in with yourself and reflect and be attuned, it's hard. And if money is tight, if you don't have that kind of financial space, oh my, it's ethics become very questionable when your kids are starving. So, or ethics means something different, but creating space is the number one thing. And if you're in a cash flow crunch, you got to throw some elbows. I mean, it's just if you're in a cash flow crunch, you need to make money. That has to be the priority. Putting food on the table has to become the priority, or not the priority, but it's because you've got to dethrone some other things. So, hanging out with friends, social media, just getting off it, going on hiatus. That's a way there. I mean, you want to create space. Just in that one move, you've probably freed up at least a dozen hours every week that could go into building your business. If you're creating free content, just stop. Yes, free content is good long term, but in the short term, it can kill you. So that's the first thing. But then there's also creating spaces in with your finances, right? So there's physical space, there's kind of a temporal space, but then there's financial space. So if you're in debt, consolidate it into a low interest thing. Um, Sometimes you got to move into a cheaper place. It's like we're paying too much in rent. We got to downsize. We got to, take the heat off of that. Sometimes it means getting a part-time job just to take the edge off it. But however you do it, you've got to create space. It's so significant. And I see this is the big mistake I see people make when they try to get over either a cash flow crunch that they're in out of desperation or one that they're inspiration. I want to go on a trip somewhere. Is they try to achieve that. They try to take that jump of cash flow without changing anything, without creating the space. And so to me, that's where we start. The base is space. That is the most fundamental thing. If you're struggling, yes, evaluate yourself on those five. But first, before any of that, evaluate yourself on the space. And do you actually have enough room? I mean, I remember years ago, and Bradley, I'm sure you've had similar things, but I mean, I hit complete total burnout. I was doing so many projects. I had my business. I started a project, the local good in Edmonton, networking organization for cool folks in town. Started green drinks, started indigo drinks, which was a mixer for the holistic scene. Started the streetcar shows on a thing. I was doing a potluck once a month, which was a bit of a production. I would have, 20 to 60 people live there every time, et cetera, et cetera. And then trying to have a life on top of it. And I burned out so profoundly. I mean, heavy burnout, and I had to stop everything. I had to stop every community endeavor I was in. I stopped doing the potlucks because at the end of the day, I couldn't even breathe because I was looking at my inbox and I couldn't get to the bottom of it. So if you're in a crunch, you've got to create the room. You've got to make sure in your calendar you just block off time, big blocks of time where it's like, this is just time to work on my goals. So when your friends reach out to you and say, hey, do you want to hang out? It's like, well, for the next few months, I can't. For the next few months, maybe I just got to put the axe to the grindstone and work. Sometimes, make hay when the sun shines. It's time now, but you need the space to do it. And if you're going to say yes to that, you got to say no to some other things. So that's my take on it.
I love it. That's beautiful. And then with the space, I'll just add when you've carved out the space, you have time to think. One of the ways that I have definitely come up with my best ideas that have helped me to come up with fast cash is I'll take my journal, I'll leave my phone at home, and I'll go for like a long walk, hours and hours walk. Like I call it a walkabout, where I'll bring my questions of like, what do I need to do? I'll talk to myself out loud, and I'll just work through whatever's going on, and I will come up with like what are the leverage points? So, what is the most easily accessible fruit is ready literally to be plucked off the vine that I've forgotten about? Because let's just pretend to go with the homesteading metaphor. If you've got a big homestead, sometimes you get overwhelmed by having too much stuff and you forget that there's food that's ready to be picked. And maybe you've been so bogged down and so busy that you've forgotten about some of the fruits that you could harvest right now. That if you were to follow up with a certain person or people or group, that you've had conversations with in the past, or if you looked at one of the assets that you've created in the past and you were to turn it into an evergreen and launch it today, or sell an audio library, like there might be assets or relationships that you could essentially easily leverage that are ripe for the picking, but you're not seeing them clearly because you haven't carved out the space. So once you carve out the space, go for that long walk and see how many ideas you can come up with just around the question, what relationships, what assets, what services, what products, what trainings could I easily leverage to come up with some fast cash right now? Or what is a training that I could offer coming up in person or online that I could start pre-selling immediately? And if with those questions and the space to just go on a long walk out in nature, or a walkabout around your city where you just aimlessly walk for hours and stop to write down your ideas and just keep that dialogue going and thinking, uh, chances are you're going to come up with some unexpected pathways. And I mean, I have most certainly pulled out some money miracles, especially in the last several years, where building Magic Kids, um, we're looking at a 20 to $30,000 a month burn rate of building this kids media company. This is expensive enterprise. Um, that wasn't making money because it was all building and producing and all the things. And so I had to come up with a lot of like really big money miracles and
Hmm.
fast cash. And what you talk about carving out space is that was one of the things. Like I just had my daily practices of creating that space so I could think and talk through things and work through it and then put things in motion. And here we are. We're doing better than ever now. So I think between those two pieces, space first, and then ask yourself the good questions and you're not going to come up with your best ideas sitting in front of the screen. You can come up
No.
with your best ideas when you shut off the phone and you close the laptop. And if you have a team, brainstorm with your team or just go for that walk because you got it. You've already laid the groundwork to be able to pull something off.
Yeah, amen. Yeah, I mean, so of course we're talking in part because I've got this meantime program coming up. And
No, that's
so yeah, so the shameless plug is this is one of the first online programs I ever did. I think the only one earlier that I did was my marketing for Hippies 101, but this is my 15th year doing it. And it's the final year we're doing it live. We've got other plans for it moving forward. But that's what this program is first the first half we're talking about creating space. The second half we talk about tactics, and you'll get 36 very specific, immediately actionable tactics from me that you can use. Um, and more ideas will probably come on your own or from conversations with others. But you're going to pick one of those tactics or a combination and hustle and see what you can create. My goal, my intention is that this is a tactic that can make you $2,000, if you really hustle. Which, if you consider that you might get one client, client might come back a number of times. For some people, they just need one client. And over the next year, this is worth, at least $2,000. But that's my intention anyways. And but yeah, it starts off with this space. And like Bradley's saying, going for a walk, huge. Also, another way to get space, sometimes we have such a limited perspective on our own. We get in this kind of tunnel vision, and you need to get more space in terms of how you see things. And so having conversations with other people is also a huge way to get some space, to get some room, to get some thinking space so that you're not just traveling down the same tunnel, because somebody else might say, "Oh, but have you thought about this?" Or "Wait, why are you doing that?" when this might be a better thing. Sometimes other people have more space from our situation, is another way to say it. They're not locked in like we are. They're stepping back and they'll ask the obvious question. And so, if you have friends or colleagues, it's a good thing. And Bradley, I know you do your co-working retreats, which might be good to talk about, and whether or not you do Bradley's, consider this possibility. If you get some colleagues, you say, let's just get an Airbnb or let's go somewhere, let's just hang out and just work on our businesses and have time to talk and run ideas past each other. But Bradley, you've got one coming up in March, I know.
Yes, so I'm hosting the first one since COVID. We used to do this a couple times a year, get shit done work retreat, where it's basically 4 full days here, Studio Magic on Salt Spring Island, where people come with a dream project, big project. Could be writing your book, building a new website. It might be creating a course, an audio library, whatever it is. You just come and you work on that project for 4 full days. And there's as much coaching and feedback and support as you want on the daily basis. We eat meals together, we co-work together, we brainstorm, and then there'll be some adventures in the evening, bioluminescent paddles and hikes and that sort of thing to keep people's bodies moving. Yeah, so that's happening mid-March. Because yeah, it's profoundly impactful when you get together with a small crew of people and you're all just there to focus and make magic happen.
It's very easy when you're in a desperate feeling to feel like, but this is the time I can't create space. You don't
Yeah.
understand how busy I am. You don't understand how much is going on. I can't, but you must. This is the key. If you want out of it, I mean, maybe you just got a nose to the grindstone for a little while, but if this is a chronic thing, at a certain point, I think we have to look down and say, okay, what is here that I can. Also, another thing that's important is you're probably overloading yourself in terms of what you think you can accomplish this year. And sometimes you have to look at a project and say, this is next year. I'm
Hmm.
not even thinking about this anymore. I'm just taking it off the table for a year, for 2 years, for 3 years, 5 years, however long. It's just like, okay, this is too much right now. I'm taking it off so I can focus on the task at hand, so I can focus on, what I've got going. When we get so busy, it's often our self-care tends to fail, but then that in the short term, you do great. You got more time in the day, but of course, then your biology is now working against you.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's if you're in a crunch, it's just there's a lot of triage that has to happen. We got to cut off anything that's just not essential. That's become a distract. When people are desperate, they say there's often four things they do and more besides. But one is we people go for a diploma. I got to learn more. Got to get another certificate, and that's what's going to turn this ship around. But actually, you're probably just going to spend more money, and you're going to be exactly in the same place you were with more debt.
Yeah.
Number two is people distract. And this is the social media. This is all of us have our ways of doing it, and it doesn't help. It's temporary relief, but it's a time wasted.
Mhm.
And then there's a we get discouraged, and we can just fall into this kind of depression around this, and it's understandable, of course, but it doesn't help. And then last, it's we might become deceptive. We might say, well, since I'm so desperate, I'm going to use some of these underhanded tactics. And I want to suggest that instead of that, we need depth and discipline. Yeah, and the discipline to say no, to make room. So yeah, if you're struggling with that and you could use some help and you want some other perspectives, the Meantime program is coming up. Of course, you're welcome to join. If you go to marketingforhippies.com/events, and Bradley, I'll send you the link to it. But
Beautiful.
I'm doing a webinar on it, and we're going to have this whole 3 months to dive into this. So if you want to kind of hit the reset button on your business, this is the best thing I've got. And again, I won't be doing this again live ever again.
Highly recommending it. It's great if you want to get on that cash flow train of making some things happen in a supportive community and container. I don't like hustle culture, but sometimes you do have to hustle. Sometimes you gotta make some sacrifices to turn the ship around and get things headed in the right direction. And having a supportive container that's going to support you, hold you accountable, and offer feedback and support along the way, it's invaluable when you got to make those changes and those pivots.
The other thing I wanted to say about also by way of a segue to the other thing we're going to talk about is so okay, right. So here's the meantime thing, but this is what I wanted to say. Okay, right. So I've added space, but also at the top, SW signature workshop. I may just change this into sharing, but once you've got all these things in place, you've got to put it out into the world. It's one thing to have the theory of all these things laid out, have the structural elements of these things laid out, but then you actually have to do it. You have to get out there. And if you are a service provider and you're wanting to grow your business, also if you're hustling and you just need clients, both in the short term and the long term, neither of us know anything better than just getting in front of people and talking about what you do. Getting in front of groups, get in front of a group, say, here's who I am, here's what I do, this is my take on it, give them a little bit of an experience and let them know how they can work with you. This is kind of the thing. It can take a number of different forms, but not so many. And Bradley and I just finished, mostly Bradley was leading it, the signature workshop training, which was like a 3 month, 2.5 month,
About 3 months, yeah.
yeah, three
Yeah.
month situation, taking people from don't have a signature workshop to I've already run my signature workshop a few times. And so I wasn't as in Bradley, but how did it go? Any reports, any thoughts?
Oh, I feel stoked. I mean, we had 57 people last year, and this year there was roughly 110 that signed up to do their signature workshops. It was a really, really engaged group. The stat that's been thrown around is it's a 97% dropout rate of people that sign up for an online training and then don't ever complete it. And we had a very, very high completion rate. We were getting at least 60 plus people out from the majority of the actual live sessions, and then the community was really active. But yeah, it's cool. a lot of people have done their first one or two or three practice runs. The intention was is that they did at least one practice run before the end of the year, but I know a lot of people are doing multiple practice runs so they can hit the ground running in January, with actually starting their tour, reaching out to hubs and getting that in place, which is, I mean, you and I have talked about it, but I have never come across an easier, more streamlined, scalable, effective growth strategy than this. There's some workshops that I go in, I'm like, this is going to be small, and we get 200 new people on my email list. Other ones, it's like 500 people on my email list. I mean, you remember when we did your first one, 1,100 people signed up for a workshop, an hour-long workshop. Some of them, the really small ones, we might get 30 to 50 people sign up. But you think about what people do on social media and the amount of time that drains from them. And how many emails are you counting? Probably zero. How much money are you making? Probably none. And this is just, the more email addresses you have of people that are interested to hear from you and want to go to your workshop, uh, the better. It's a no-brainer. The more people on your email list, which you have control of, you don't have control of social media. Uh, it's only going to lead to more engagement in what you're putting out there and more people signing up for the paid things that you have to offer. And, you can go to a podcast and do podcast interviews, but people are passive listeners and they're not going to be actually going over to your website after the podcast is done, or majority won't. But in a workshop, they're present with you. It's live, they're engaged, they're with you, they're having an experience. And at the end of it, when you call them to the adventure of sign up for my program or my membership, or here's my audio library, here's this coaching package, come on a 90-day journey with me. It's like they've had an experience and they're either going to be in resonance and want to continue the journey, or they'll say, now's not the time, but maybe in a year, maybe 2 years, maybe in 4 months. And it's such an effective way. And so it's been really satisfying in the community space. We have a bunch of people sharing how their first signature workshops went, and uh, so here's one. Sarah says, I shared my workshop last Sunday. It was a great experience. Even making the slides really helped me crystallize my message. I got great feedback from the women who attended. I now really want to tour it as I'm clear that my audience is small and I want to widen my reach. I think this is a good workshop to tour. So world, here I come. Um, Another one, Maduri. Uh, I had my first test run for friends and family. It was very sweet. The fact itself that they said um, they were super grateful. I got a ton of valuable feedback. Some really liked the stick figures on my slides. Thanks for the inspiration, Bradley. Some gave suggestions that as their moms of small children, they benefit from pre-recorded sessions. Um, I I felt resistance moving in the preparation phase and wanted to drop everything, but I worked through it and I'm super grateful for all the feedback and encouragement that I did it. So that's super cool. I know there was a lot of people who were really nervous going into teaching their first workshop. I mean, I remember my first ever Zoom workshop was a complete and total disaster. I couldn't figure out how to log on and let people in. I was 15 minutes late. My slides wouldn't work. Like it was just total disaster. And so that's why the test runs for all these people who may not have ever taught live workshops, it's great. Gina here. I just completed my first signature workshop beta test. 18 enrolled, 9 attended live, so not a bad first hop. I think it went really well, but my public speaking needs some polish. Lots of ums and so's. I've already sent out the follow-up emails to both the live attendees and the ones who registered but did not attend live. To be clear, the second group is alive because she does death-related work, so she made a
Oh,
joke there. Um, so I never considered there might be a need I could actually fulfill outside of Canada with my offerings. Now I can take over the world. I'm looking forward to getting the feedback and go doing better next go around. So that's just another. There's a whole page of these
Uh,
reviews from people who have been
were,
doing the workshops.
were there any topics or titles or themes that people came up with that struck you that you thought, oh, that's a great topic for us? I'll share one that it was
Yeah.
somebody in my membership came up with. You'll love this. It was it's a woman who does nonviolent communication related stuff for families and family conflict. But the thing she stumbled across as a topic where there's been all this response from schools because she's been going to them to do these her signature workshops is screen time agreements.
Mm, beautiful.
Yeah, and so she's found this topic that is just a real hot button for a lot of parents. And so instead of saying, "Hey, deal with family conflict is a big thing," she's saying, "Here's one of the sources of many of your conflicts right now. Are these screen time agreements, and what do we do about it? How do we do it in a way where we're not either too authoritarian or too permissive? What's the middle road on this?" And of course, as she's doing it, she can be talking about conflict more broadly and saying there's other conflicts too. And some of those people then might want to take a step to work with her. Or I think about my friend Hovard van Ginkel, who did who was also nonviolent communication, was going to go into a school to teach nonviolent communication because the principal knew the teachers had terrible communication styles. But you can't do a workshop on nonviolent communication for teachers who don't think they have, why would they come? So they did a workshop on how to deal with difficult parents.
Huh.
Genius twist, but it got their response. But I'm curious, what did you see in your program as titles or topics that you thought that's really good, that's going to work?
Oh, man, I just opened a page right now and there's, I don't even know, like 70 different landing page examples here. So
Really?
I'll share my screen. This
Yeah.
is a huge one. So go through some of these. A lot of them have some.
Mm,
So this one here, Crystal, she's working on the top six eco actions. So for people that are feeling really overwhelmed by all of the climate change related
mm,
fear that is out there and feel stuck, she's created through all of her research and running a podcast for the bunch of last years and interviewing a ton of experts, she's consolidated like six things every single person could do that would have the biggest difference on their own carbon footprint. And so that's what her signature workshop's about. Um, this one's really cool. Um, Emily did one on
mm,
beyond birth control, and her landing page and website. I wonder if the link is in this particular post. It might be in a different post.
huh.
Her branding was looking really, really beautiful. She built an incredible page. Apparently, the workshop went phenomenal. I think she's going to crush it next year with her particular stuff. Oh, this one, Gina. So Gina does. This isn't the landing page one. This must be the first draft where they're sharing their copy. So a part of the process that everybody went through is that every stage of the game I assigned homework that they were to do. So I provided templates and they would fill in the blanks to build their landing page, their copy, all the things, their media page, their outreach emails. It was like I templatized everything to make it as easy as possible for people to succeed. Like that was the main feedback I got from everybody. Is like I can't believe how easy you made it for us to actually get to the finish line. Um, Gina's work is really cool. So she helps people um, get prepared for their end of life. So, and she brings a lot of comedy into her particular branding and workshop, and like comedy comics, like little comics illustrations and stuff. But wills, bills, and headache pills, an overview of navigating executorship. And I think she's going to crush it as well. Her branding and messaging is really fun for, a heavy topic that people don't want to deal with. Oh, here was the Beyond Birth Control one. Um, just really beautiful branding. So right here, this is a template landing page that I gave everybody that went through the course to make it really easy. You don't have to even really think about what you're doing to build your landing pages for your signature workshops.
Can you go back to that one if you
Yeah.
would? Let's just go through this kind of slowly here. So up to the top pause.
Yeah.
Okay. So right, so birth control, natural and modern contraception you can trust. This ain't your grandma's rhythm method. Okay, great. So we know who it's for and all this. Okay, it's Emily Mujamoon, and then scroll down. So okay, so have you ever felt like it's a lose-lose choice between okay, pause there. Yeah, between the pill, the patch, the shot, or an IUD? Right. So this is really naming the moment they're in. This is here's the situation you're in. Right? And if it's not making you depressed or anxious, it's giving you recurring yeast infections. If it's not making your hair fall out, it's killing your libido. And if you're not on birth control, you're wondering if you're being safe. But what's the point in messing with your sex hormones for sexual freedom if it makes you not want to have sex? Discover a the modern approach to natural birth conception that's revolutionizing. This is so great. So it's very clear that we got a little video.
Everybody was encouraged to do a video invitation that essentially helped to recap what was on the page for those that would prefer to connect with the human and watch the video version of the landing page.
Oh, great. And then here we go. So let's pause here. So, right, in 60 minutes in the online circle, you'll learn now little, just a very small copywriting thing for everybody. It's not in this 60-minute online circle, I'm going to teach, it's you're going to learn. So the focus always is what are they going to receive, not what are we going to give? And we've got some really clear things how to accurately understand when you are and you aren't fertile, a simple method to check your fertile fluids, how to avoid common mistakes people make with temperature tracking, how to use the printable chart I'll gift you, and the deeper sensual paths to connecting with your body. So, very specific. Here's what you're going to get. This is grand. And then, all right, keep going. Scroll down a bit more. Right, sign up now. Here it is. And then some testimonials. It's fantastic. So, that, and then there's a bit
In the
about her.
bio.
There's the bio. Boom.
And then anytime somebody gets somebody to host them, they would duplicate this landing page and then they would put the host's bio down below. So they would be the guide and their host would be here. And then you can duplicate your landing page infinite number of times for infinite number of partners.
It's ama and what's amazing about this to me that I would underline is that this happened within the program.
Yeah.
You know, within 3 months, somebody had designed their talk, designed this page, published it, and done it.
Not only that, but they also built all of the outreach emails. They built a hub spreadsheet. They created a, like when I get people to host me, I have a media page,
Yeah,
which is one of the most important parts. When you're asking people to promote your work, you have to make it so ridiculously easy for these busy entrepreneurs to be able to
huge.
spread the word. So everybody got a template page just like this where hosts can book their dates. They could sign up as an affiliate if they want. Your promotional emails are right there for them to copy and paste. Your social media posts, all your banner images, copy. Um, they can check out the free PDF that comes with the workshop, the bios, links, etc. So that it's as easy as possible for somebody to say yes and promote. And you have one email exchange after they say yes is great. You can book your time here. You can copy and paste the emails. I'll be in touch ahead of time to see if you need anything else. But it's basically, I was creating a plug and play blueprint because if you're going to essentially, let's just pretend you're going to tour your signature workshop on 30 virtual stages in 2025, you want to make it as easy as possible for you or your assistant, as well as for the people hosting you.
Yeah. Well, and as you can see, there were a lot more on that page.
Oh,
So,
so many, so
yeah,
many. Is that's what I said is like it was such an engaged group inside of the community space, and I always encourage when I'm running a program like this is like you have to earn your good comment karma. And so if you want people offering you really great feedback when you make your post, go and look at other people's review other people's at least two to three other people's work in order to earn your good comment karma. And that little tip there for anybody that's running communities, it creates this feeling of reciprocity inside the community space that people aren't just posting and leaving, that they're actually going in and offering some really thoughtful feedback. And because this is, there's 110 coaches and leaders in one community space, everybody has really valuable opinions that the people are seeing things that I'm not seeing because I'm not a woman who's in the target category of a particular topic. I'm looking at it from my own lens. And it's just it was a really beautiful space. I was really honored to work with this big group. Um, I'm excited for next year as well. And for folks that want to just get started, it's
Mm.
evergreen now, so you can go through the signature workshop training anytime. Starting now, I'm available in the community, so you'll still get my support, but there's still a lot of people that are in the community actively using the space and sharing and commenting still.
Where do people go? What's the link? I don't even know the link for.
So they can go to magicmedia.com/signature workshop.
Okay, that's the
Uh,
same page.
it's the same page, and or they can sign up for my Magic Mind community and participate in that.
That's so grand. Yeah, I cannot recommend it highly enough. I mean, if you're a DIY person and you've been wanting to dig in, I would dig in ASAP. But also there's something about the momentum of the live thing. And I would say this, even if you do the DIY, I would strongly consider the possibility of doing it with the group next year. You just be ahead of people,
Yeah,
but then you're going to have time to get some feedback, some reflections, helping hone it, get some guidance on taking some of the next steps. And you'll probably also be very inspiring and very helpful to the other people who are in the program. But I don't know of a better asset. I mean, your email list is a big thing, but having a signature workshop that you can rinse and repeat, that you can do over and over again, instead of creating a new workshop, then another workshop, then another workshop, having one that you do over and over again that builds your list, that builds credibility, that you can get hosted, be introduced to new people. I just can't think of anything smarter to do.
I would agree. I've tried a lot of things. You've tried a lot of things. This is the easiest and seems to make the most sense to get in
Yeah,
front of new audiences and also change lives in the process.
yeah, I
It
agree.
doesn't feel like marketing at all,
Yeah,
which is nice because, most hippies out there that are doing great work in the world have a hard time talking about their services. And this gives you a really amazing, tangible way to positively introduce people to your work and to your vibe live, which nothing beats live.
yeah. And I would say if you are in that cash flow crunch or you just need money quick, again, to recap, number one, make space in your life. Carve out the space that you need. The Meantime program could help you do that step by step. We'll walk you through it. But you create the space in your life, and then you've got to pick a tactic, one tactic that's going to do the most to bring in money to create space financially. And I would say one of the best ones you could do is the signature workshop. If you just, I mean, God, if I swear, if all of you listening, if the only two things you did was one, pause your social media for 3 months. Just say, I'm not on social for the next 3 months. You don't even look at it. And you took that 3 months and you poured it into doing your signature workshop, you'd clean up.
Yeah.
You would absolutely be much further ahead than if you'd stayed on social media and not created that space. And there's other ways to create space than just getting off social media. But for most of us, that would be the big one. So, yeah, I'm very excited to see all these workshops out there. And thanks for making the time, Brad.
Thank you. Always a pleasure. And I know we're going to do lots of fun stuff in the coming year. Looking forward to it all.
Amen.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Take care, y'all.